Let's begin with Jason La Canfora, CBS, and also of the NFL Today. Jason, thanks for your time here this morning. And let's start out with, why do you think Chip Kelly got fired?
Well, it's a combination of things, and ultimately it is a production business, and sort of as you hinted at, Burmy, you put up with certain things. It's really kind of like players, right? I mean, it's not all that different than some of these situations we talk about. Why is this guy still in the building? Why will the Cowboys still keep Greg Hardy? We have these discussions all the time, and I'm not equating anything remotely that Chip Kelly has done to what Greg Hardy has done, but it's just that issue of sort of BS tolerance. And in the eyes of the owner there, the antics of sort of Chip Kelly, the way that it felt to go to work every day, the way people felt about being part of that organization, the way people felt they were treated by the Philadelphia Eagles, which basically means Chip Kelly because he's essentially running every non-business part of that organization, what it meant to be a Philadelphia Eagle, how much you had to be willing to sort of change and concede and just hand over to this guy. It all took sort of an emotional toll. And at the end of the day, I'd equate it somewhat to what the 49ers did. Jeffrey Lurie took his building back. He gave his building over sort of mind, body, and soul through the course of 3 years to this one individual who did things in a manner that he wasn't really used to and who was very gruff, and it was just his way, and that's just how it was going to be. And, people, it was a sea change. It was a climate change. And I think it weighed on Jeffrey's mind. I think it was something where he sat there and said, is this who we really want to be? And is this how I want to be defined? And, do I want to be answering these kind of questions all the time? Do I want there to be this much friction? Do I want there to be this sense in the locker room? And not just in the locker room, but through many, many corridors of my building about, people feeling like they don't understand what it means to be a Philadelphia Eagle anymore in the way they operate. And at the end of the day, the totality of that and whatever was exactly said between him and Chip Kelly in that meeting, because you're never going to convince me that something wasn't said there that completely triggered this to the point where this man was no longer allowing someone he just gave his complete building to 11 months ago to coach a final game. I have a hard time thinking that was completely amicable.
Jason, how sought after is Chip Kelly going to be now by the Miami Dolphins, Tennessee Titans, and any other positions that might open up?
I certainly think he'll have opportunities. We've sort of been chronicling this for a few weeks now, and it's not exactly like this is a year where we've got all these A-list guys all over the place. It's not a year in which guys are getting out of the broadcast booth, by and large, those big fish to come back to coaching. It's not a year in which many of the top college guys are winking at the NFL and saying, come make me an offer. That's not really going on. The sexiest sort of subplot has been Sean Payton. And this now sort of trumps that just because Chip Kelly's a complete, he's an out-and-out free agent now, and you don't have to worry about extricating him from a contract or what have you. The 20 wins in 2 years, this sort of iconoclastic nature, the success he had in college, the fact that this is a brilliant guy. I mean, he has a lot going for him. That's going to be attractive. But I think if it's going to work the second time around, he's also going to have to realize that winning matters, but people also matter. And there has to be some element of something short of a complete and utter dictatorship for you to get the kind of buy-in it's going to take for you to sustain something for more than a couple of years in the NFL.
A final question for you here, Jason. Paul Burmeister and Ross Tucker sitting in for Dan Patrick this morning, talking to Jason La Canfora of the NFL Today on CBS Sports. I think I know the answer to this based off of how you've been speaking, but do you think it was a mistake for the Eagles to let Chip Kelly go?
I think time will tell. I understand why they did it. Again, if this would have happened a week later, guys, I would have been a little surprised, but not nearly as floored as I was that it happened on a Tuesday at 7 o'clock, 5 days before the season ends. And I don't buy that this gives the Eagles some extra big time to jump in and start talking to people. No, you can't really interview anybody until next week, who's still involved in the league. So, I think it's going to depend on who the next hire is. Before they got Chip Kelly, they were talking to Brian Billick, they were talking to Ken Wisenhunt, they were talking to Gus Bradley. I think the key now will be how do they replace him and how quickly can they sort of get their culture back And then obviously the personnel is going to have to be, those decisions are going to have to be markedly better. And do they bring someone else in to help with that as well?
Jason La Canfora of the NFL Today, CBS Sports, thank you. And thanks for helping us kick off the show here this morning.
Always, guys. Thank you.